wronged, and they still want to get the justice and the validation of the person maybe who did what they did, to tell them, hey, I apologize. And sometimes you don't get that kind of, you know, justification or validation from this particular person, and you have to go around life. So you have this thing on your back that keeps telling you someone wronged you, but there's no closure. And you don't know how to move on. I'm sure you've heard that a lot, you know. So here you are, and it chips off your personality, you know, and you experience something else, because you see now your whole aura is, I went through this, and you keep attracting the same situations over and over. Now it becomes an added aspect of your personality, you know. So how does one, you know, go about such aspects, and especially things that are not you, circumstances that happen to you but now become part of your personality?
In fact, as you're just speaking, I could see very many aspects of where people go wrong with that kind of narrative, because number one, we give people too much power. So once we sit down and we're thinking that, you know, Remy hurt me, so she needs to come and apologize. I've given you so much power when it comes to forgiveness. I've given you so much power when it comes to even you affecting my self-esteem. So people will talk about, oh, you know, I was with Remy, and then for the 2 years that I was with her, I just kept on feeling like my self-esteem kept on dwindling. What were you still doing with Remy? And we give people so much power to take something from us. Oh, you know, this person really ruined my self-esteem. They ruined my confidence. Now I don't have a sense of self-worth. Like, that's too much power giving to people, number one. Number two, people need to understand the laws of human nature. People are always going to be people, number one. And then number two, when push comes to shove, people are going to degenerate into their primal aspects, who they are at the core. That is why it is an effort in futility for anyone to try and give people so much power, because they might degenerate. They might just fall back into being people you can't even understand. You can't say that someone, unless you have been put through a situation where your loyalty has been tested, I can't really for sure say that you're loyal. Until, you know, how will I know that you've got integrity when I put 100 billion on the table and I say, you know, look the other way and let me do this? How can I say, how can you confirm that you're a person of integrity until you've been put through it? So human beings are always going to disappoint. And I think we put a lot of power on people to expect that they're going to do the right thing. Nobody owes you closure. You owe yourself closure, because people are always going to be people. There are certain people who have no empathy. They've got no compassion. So for them to go back to their mistakes and say, oh, hey, listen, they don't even have a guilty conscience. Hey, listen, I know I wronged you. I know I offended you, and I'm sorry about this. They might never come. So that is something that you can only give to yourself. That's why you've got to master yourself, so that you can rise above such things. And just get rid of giving people too much power in terms of, you know, oh, they worked on my self-esteem. I don't have a self-esteem. Like, no. And then most people are really smart. When you work on yourself, you're going to be in touch with your intuition. There's nothing that usually is on the money like intuition. In fact, when I was just outside, I got so many, you know, messages in my inbox, and the lady who was saying, oh, you know, I'm with this person and they don't communicate, and they rarely say when they're out of town. This person will be out of town. I'll just know they're out of town. Like when I make the call, they never tell me anything. So I can feel like we are a bit distant, but when I bring the question up, the person says, no, we're not distant, we're really okay. So, you know, I keep on telling myself, you're not dumb. You're actually really smart. Your intuition is telling you the truth. However, you're choosing to lie to yourself. Because even when it comes to women, they say, actually men don't lie. Men never lie to women. Women lie to themselves, because a woman only has to be in love with a man and she will lie to herself. She will create stories. She will justify it in her head. People cannot, most people are not that smart to cover their tracks. They'll tell on themselves. They'll show you the signs. But because of the narrative that someone has in their head of what they're expecting this thing to be, they'll keep on lying to themselves. So even with the ladies that I saw in terms of what they were telling me, I was like, you understand? You already said the person is a poor communicator. So why are you still there? You're very certain that this person is not into you, but you want to make things work out because of that, you know, the limiting beliefs and the fact that someone is expecting the other person is going to do right by them by some stroke of luck. And like I said in the beginning, you're always creating your reality. So if you've got trauma, if you've got emotional, you're not in tune with your emotions, guess what? You're always going to meet people who are not emotionally available to you, because that's what you're doing to yourself. And I've said this before, you're your own karma. The things that are happening to you are the result of you paying for the things that you're doing to yourself. You neglect yourself, you find people who neglect you. And so you have to work on yourself. When you're radiating love and abundance, the people who come into your life show love and abundance. And this is something that even as I'm working on myself, because I intend to radiate love, I always meet people who treat me so nicely, so well, kind to me. And I'm like, okay, I can see it. It's happening to me because I'm giving the same to myself. So that's how you master yourself, right?
Now, when it comes to self-love, that can also be a very uphill task.
Yes.
For very many people. It's just as uphill as you not loving yourself and the work that it goes.
Right.
You know, I once had someone say it's like fighting against your own cells in your body, because you have been regulated, quote unquote, to believe you don't look a certain way, so you'd love to, but you can't.
Yes.
You don't speak a certain way, you'd love to, but you can't. And here someone is saying, love yourself. So when you're saying, love who you are,
right,
and others would say, fake it to make it, would you advise someone to fake? Can you fake it to make it to love yourself? Or do you literally have to go in and look at yourself in the mirror and say, hey, I love me, this is who I am, this is my skin, and how does that occur?
So self-love happens when you master yourself and you understand that you are the I am. So I am. Everything that comes after I am, you decide. So you can say, I'm an introvert, and you begin to see that you move like an introvert. And you say, today I'm an extrovert. And you just begin to see that, you know, everywhere you go, you open up. So you are the director of your own life. And unfortunately, you know, we think that there's a force out there that is going to direct us. God observes. That is why he's giving you the free will. Choose good, choose evil. That's on you. And you choose to do evil. Have you ever seen people do so much evil till you ask, where was God in all of this? Because God is just an observer. That person chose the will that they chose was to do evil. And the people who go on to do great and amazing things, and they inspire the world and they take humanity to the next level, there is no good or bad, it's just neutral. So you choose and you decide. When it comes to knowing that I am, everything else is a story. The Bible says that for you to see God, you have to kill the flesh. The flesh dies when you take away the identities that you have, the ego, the trauma, the stories that you've given yourself. Once you take away the false character, because all of us are embodying a false character. Oh, you know, my mother did this, and my father did that, and my boyfriend did this and the other. That's the ego, and it's taking an identity. When you take the ego off and you take that identity, what remains is pure. What remains is the spirit, the one that is neither created nor destroyed. When we die, what happens? What's left is the body, the identity, the trauma, and what was in apparently goes to the next life or wherever it goes, unharmed, untouched, untraumatized. You cannot traumatize the spirit. That is the I am. So when you get into self-mastery and you master yourself, you understand that when you're the I am, there's no story. There's no I am tall, I am dark, I am all of these things. Then love begins to come out of that space now. Then you realize that people will address you, people will see you physically. You may look like someone else, but people are just drawn to you. There's the energy. And that is how you also attract people into your life. How do you attract people into your life? It's the beauty that comes from within. Yes, physically you might be, you know, you might look something else, but once you know the I am, what comes out of you is what will change the dynamics for everything. And that's where everyone needs to get at. Who are you? Understanding that you are healthy, you are wealthy, everything that you want out of life is inside of you at that time. Presence. Presence. When you kill the flesh, you take off the identity, you meet the I am. And when you meet the I am, you've mastered yourself.
Right.
Right.
Let's take a look at environment. Most of the time, some people cannot choose the kind of environment they have. It's either you're in a positive one,
yes,
or it's just either you are not in a positive environment, but you want to make all these changes, but your environment does not fully allow you to prosper in the way that you would have loved to prosper. You know, you can talk about economic challenges. You can say that, oh, you know, next to me is a drunkard, you know, who always comes in so late in the AM and they blast all this loud music. And I'm just trying to be here and pray or meditate, you know. You can just say, I wake up in the morning and like literally outside my doorstep is just this whole puddle of, you know, mud or whatever, you know, it just doesn't give you peace. And you cannot control that. You can only control, like, maybe if I give myself 6 more months, I can be able to move out of this. But for now, this is where I'm at. So what are you supposed to do when your environment isn't conducive to the kind of changes you want to make?
Right. First of all, we have the first tenets of self-mastery is truth. You have to tell yourself the truth, because we approach the world as it is, not as we hope it to be. So the truth can be that you're in a limiting environment. That's your truth. You understand that I'm in an environment that is toxic. I'm in an environment that is limited. I don't have the resources. I don't have everything. That's true. That's 100%. We accept it. But obviously you give yourself time, because like everything else, when you're going to the gym, you just can't go to the gym and expect that you go to the gym on day one and you're already, lifting 200 kgs. No, you start with the small dumbbells, then you build up the muscle as you go along, and then within no time, in a year, perhaps 2 years, you're built, you're shredded, and the abs are out. So the same thing happens when you're working on yourself. You've got to be really patient with yourself, but you have to be truthful. The way someone who's truthful with themselves, that I'm obese, I need to be in shape, I need to start eating right, I need to go to the gym, I need to start sleeping well, I need to stop stressing. There's so many things that you need to do before you can become fit. You can't just sit and be like, then all of a sudden you wake up, you've manifested a incredible body. So the same thing happens when you're working on yourself. You have to be really, really, what's it called? You have to be patient with yourself. So when you're beginning to do the work, and let's take the worst case scenario. You don't have the resources, you don't have anything in your arsenal to make you get to a better place. Understanding the I am, who I am. Remember, you're an alchemist. All of us are creating the life that we are always creating, always manifesting. And creation is now you being conscious in your creation, because manifesting that people are manifesting in their lives, you're creating unconsciously by the things that you say to yourself. Oh my goodness, my environment is really terrible. Do you know what you're trying to communicate to God or to the universe? You're trying to say that, oh where focus goes, energy flows. This is physics. Where focus goes, energy flows. So when people are focusing a lot on what I do not have, you know what happens? You get more of what you do not have. But once you get in tune with yourself and understanding that I am, that I have everything, I have money is in limitless supply to me at all times now. Creation does not happen in the future, it does not happen in the past, it's happening now. So when you sit still in the now and learn how to bring yourself to presence, even when your mind tries to deviate 100 times, it goes to the past or it goes to the future, you bring it to the present, because creation, there's no time. In creation, there's no time. What happened yesterday was now for yesterday. So what is happening now is now for now, which tomorrow will be yesterday. So there's no other time. People have read Eckhart Tolle's book, The Power of Now. So everything is happening now. Once you begin to get used to that and you're patient with yourself, month 1, month 2, you begin to turn your mindset, to tune your mindset into a winning mindset. The universe, like what is written in The Alchemist, will conspire to bring things into your reality, to change your circumstance, because now you're moving, you're working, you're doing this and that. What happens is people, things, you begin to meet people, it's just serendipity happening around you. So you begin to meet people who introduce you to the next person, circumstances end up changing. But then again, this cannot happen in logic. The people who are incapable of creating, and the biggest thing that is going to stand in creation is using logic. Because when you use logic, you will think that the only way I can get 100,000 shillings today is if I work. Yeah, but if you're in creator mode, you have to understand that money comes to me from all corners. It doesn't have to come through work. So people limit themselves. They say the only way I can make money is through working. And that's the only way you make money. And there's certain people who will say, I will make 100,000 shillings. That's it. You leave it to whoever God, the universe, to decide. What will happen, you can get a call from someone who's like, I've seen you been doing this thing on TV. I just want to bless you. Or I've just got and you see people say, I just got a call, I just got this feeling that I needed to send someone 100,000 shillings and I sent it to them. Yeah. It happens freely. You begin to experience life in a way that is so joyous and joyful that money comes to you in all ways, in different currencies. But you know, people have not gotten to that space where you can say, I will receive money in all currency. I will receive money in my bank account, I will receive money in cash, I will receive money in my M-Pesa, it will come to me. So you can't do that when you're in logic, because it doesn't make sense. And then the trauma, the past, if
so logic and faith don't work.
They don't. You can't create. You can't. God did not create from a place of logic. He did not. He just uttered. There was no logic. How was heaven and earth going to happen? Look at the beauty. Look at the mystery of the universe. We haven't scratched the surface when it just comes to understanding how everything balanced. Logic. There's no. In fact, when I sit here and say there's no time, people who are in logic will be like, what do you mean there's no time? There was the past, there was yesterday, you die, there's no time. So having to understand that, and when you master yourself and you know that the I am, you can't include logic into that. It stands in the way, because you will alter the place of miracles. Okay. Because for Jesus, for instance, to sit and say that these are 5 loaves and 2 fish, and I'm going to feed this audience or this crowd, there couldn't have been logic.
You know, there is scientific evidence of you know, how trauma changes your cells, who you are, and how you would react if that was not there, you know, in your life or circumstance, right? And unfortunately, because life is life, we've seen people face things that is passed on from generation to generation. Many people call them different things, you know. If you're spiritual, you say the generational curses. If you're just someone who's looking at things, you like generational trauma. And it all comes through different ways. So you can find yourself with a child. Maybe you went through this particular circumstance and literally the child is acting in a particular way that, you know, is very similar to what maybe your great-grandmother, you know, went through, a great-grandfather for that matter. So when you have situations like that, and you're simply just saying, hey, we need to change this pattern, like even just going to school. You know, this person reached university, all the others were never able to go. That is a milestone, and that is a difference. That means the children of this person will go. So how does that occur, for that matter? How do you explain that?
Okay, the one thing that also science is in agreement with is the power of the mind. The mind, not the brain, the mind, what the mind is capable of doing. Because the people who were sentenced to, like, you know, death, they were told you only have 45 days to live, and then they've been here for like 3, 4, 5 years because of what they did with their mind. And science has also is also confirming that you can reorganize, reprogram your genes. So the people who come from, you know, genealogies where you're supposed to suffer a problem or suffer, you know, a particular disease, and then the people who come and redo it and do the entire thing by their, you know, in their genes. And this is what happens, of course, for the people who are into metaphysics and the rest of it, is understanding the quantum physics, in fact, is the power of the mind, because things are controlled by what you think, your emotions, and then your actions. So what you think, it affects your emotions. Like, can you know when people are mad, have you ever been angry and then you feel like there's a surge of emotion, you just feel hot, you feel red, you feel like, you know, everything is happening in your body? Yes, it's emotion. So you can also do that when it comes to operating everything, controlling the things that come from your emotion. So everything starts in the mind. It doesn't matter the story you've told yourself, the identity, because all of us come from identity. And one thing I'll tell you is the story that people tell to themselves. The people who've gone through accidents, the people who've suffered great disease, they've suffered loss, but they never, like, they just work through it and they become better. The problem usually comes from the trauma that has been caused by people. So the person who hurt you, the trauma that came from the person who hurt you, you come to realize that it becomes very difficult for you to get out of it compared to the worst accident that someone has ever gone through. Because those are like acts of God. It was just an accident. The biggest trauma that people suffer are the ones that have been caused by people. You don't forgive, you don't forget, you don't forgive yourself, you don't forgive them, and you get to a place where you have a bitterness, you have a resentment. Now science tells that these negative emotions are like glues. They're so bad that when you have a resentment, you have a anger, you have a bitterness, and all of, you know, fear, anxiety, shame, guilt. Once you have all of this, they affect how you operate. So that's why for some women, they end up having like diseases, menstrual problems, fibroids, cysts that they can't go away because they come from the emotions that you're holding. That's why there are people who will go to they'll go to the hospital. You can't find where the disease is. And
I need you to hold on to that thought. We'll be back with you, of course, giving us more perspective on the same. We're taking a short break. We'll be back with more. Stay with us.
Of emotions, relationships.
Kumbe mama, ulikuwa unafikiria kuolewa tena? Yaani unijaleta kidogo, wewe ni mbaya.
Dilemmas and complexities of life.
Mwanamke, lakini leo umeamua kunidanganya na kuusaliti uaminifu wangu.
And secrets.
Tafadhali usimwambie Sahil kuhusu hili.
Get ready for an emotional roller coaster ride filled with drama.
Sahil wangu yuko wapi? Nataka uniambie Sahil yuko wapi? Siyafanya chochote kile Sahil jamani.
Passion. and unforgettable moments. Don't miss Aapke Ajanase every Tuesdays to Fridays on your favorite TV station, K24.
Are you a church and seeking to reach an even bigger congregation? K24 TV and Kameme TV are offering you an opportunity to grow your gospel and expand the territories of your church fellowship. Book your slot today. Call Fred on 0722 475102. 0722 475102.
Have you watched K24? We would love to hear from you. Send us your feedback on what you like and what you don't like and why. You can use any platform to reach us. We can be reached on Facebook, Twitter, and WhatsApp.
Asante kwa kunipigia simu. Simu yako nitaipokea kwa muda usiokuwa mrefu. Je, unajua kuwa wimbo wa taifa wa Kenya ulitokana na wimbo wa Kipokomo, mojawapo ya kabila za pwani nchini Kenya? Wimbo rasmi ulitungwa na Thomas Johnson Kalume.
Ili kuset asante kwa kunipigia kama skiza tune yako, dial *811*622#.
I will love you without condition.
Oh yeah, Nairobi, Kenya comes alive on the 7th of December 2024.
Malaika.
At SK, the Dome Jamhuri Park Showground from 7 p.m. as the sensational reggae star Etana will be performing live at the Good Vibes Festival. Tickets are now available at ticketyetu.com. Advanced regular tickets are going for 2,000 and 2,500 shillings at the gate. Advanced VIP tickets are going for 4,000 shillings and 5,000 at the gate, while VVIP tickets are going for 6,000 and 8,000 Kenyan shillings at the gate. Ingia, ticket yetu na ushike tiko yako leo. Come and have some good vibes.
I'm not the sort of person who falls in and quickly out of love. But to you, I give my affection right from the start.
Welcome back, and thank you so much for staying with us. If you're just joining us right now, we're speaking to Nangami Masaha. She is a leadership coach and also a mentor, and we're speaking about self-mastery, its dynamics, what you need to understand, especially now that we are in the month of December, the last month of 2024. I can't believe it, Nangami.
Yes, it's done. The year is almost done.
Wow.
Yeah, just a couple of days. And
it's been quite the year.
It has been a roller coaster for some, a blessing for others. Yeah, so I think, and a lot has happened, by the way, even in our nation. You know, Mandamano and whatnot, everything else. So it has been quite a year.
One of the years that have been has a lot historically inclined events, you know, to say the least. But just going back to a conversation, you're giving us a key point on, you know, self-mastery, on how you have to fight against your own will and understanding of matters and things for that matter. But let's speak about how when we do not fully comprehend who we are, and we're having relationships especially, because it's something we keep speaking about all the time. Yes. I mean, I don't know a day that we don't speak about relationships and how that affects us, you know, because people are going into relationships super young with not much information or knowledge to who they are, you know, and that period, is not used well. You know, so give us that perspective.
Right. Like we mentioned previously before we even went on break, that you're a creator of your life. You create your realities. And that is why I love David Goggins. So there's a time when he was talking about the fact that he wants to get to heaven. The reason why he works really hard and is like, go hard or stay hard, it's because he wants to get to heaven. This is something that has always been my mantra too. He wants to get to heaven, and when he's shown, you know, the kind of life that you're supposed to live, he either surpassed it or he met the expectations.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to most people, that's not how they move through life. Understanding the power that you have, that is why we're talking about, even when we're off air, we're like, understand, know who you are and whose you are. So when it comes to relationships, that is why you'll keep attracting the same kind of person in different bodies until the day you learn. You're going to be given the same exam, you're going to be given the same test until the day you pass the exam, until the day you excel. That's why people, you know, you can't just mysteriously jump from a bad toxic relationship into like, the next relationship is going to be great. The only time that next relationship is going to be great is when you do the work on yourself, so that you can begin to attract better. That is why when people get off relationships, the first thing you ask to do is go heal. Don't jump into another relationship. But like we talked about, the ego and the identities that people have, people don't get the time to heal. So they're like, I will heal in the crime scene. Much as it's, you know, it's fun to say, and looks interesting, people now just bring one toxicity from one place to the other, because you attract who you are. You get in life who you are. You know, people have not understood this in life, that life does not give you anything you're not. Life gives you exactly who you are. You exude love, you get love. You exude hate, you always get hatred. That's why the Bible says, judge not, lest you be judged. If I come here and post aspersions at you and say you're this and that, 2 months later, I'm the one who's being judged, because me judging you is me judging myself.
Right.
And I keep on going back to scripture where the Bible says, love your neighbor as yourself. The Bible does not say love your neighbor as you love yourself. It says love your neighbor as yourself, because we are a collective. Me loving you is loving myself. Me giving food to the street kid is me giving food to myself. I'm just giving food to a part of myself, because all of us are an identification of divinity. The person who's living a posh life and the person who's living in the streets half naked, all of them are a part of divinity. All of them are divinity personified. So when we get back to relationship, it's you need to work on yourself. Then you can attract something different or something better. And that is why patterns are very important. When you begin to realize you have patterns in relationships, you keep attracting the same kind of people, you have to go and do the work on yourself, because the universe, your higher sense of self, is trying to communicate to you that these people you're complaining about, they are showing you who you are. Do something about it. And most people don't want to do the work. We were talking about doing. People want to do. People want to be given 10 things to do. What do I need to do? So do I need to look better? Do I need to have the red polish and the little black dresses? It's all about the cosmetic aspects of working on yourself instead of doing the work. Because, and that is why doing the work is so difficult for most people, because it requires that you sit with yourself. And most people, when it comes to relationships, they can't sit with themselves. And in fact, I find it very terrible for most people to say that being by yourself, you're going to end up being sad and bitter. Because what you're trying to say is that you are the person who cannot sit with yourself. You cannot enjoy your own company. And you need to get to a place where you can sit with yourself for 2 years and enjoy your own company. But most people, because they do not sit with themselves, when you sit with yourself, the demons come out. You see yourself for who you are. So what do people do? They mask it with relationships. So because you can't stand you, what do? You look for a distraction. You look for someone who you're going to sleep with, they're going to talk to you, so that you don't look at the person you're supposed to look at, which is you. And that is why even in the manifestation industry, you hear people talk about, oh, do shadow work, I don't know, do all of these things. Write things down, you know, have a list of the kind of person that you have. You can have the best list in terms of the kind of woman that you want, the kind of man that you want. You will never get that person. The moment you work on yourself when it comes to relationships, you do the work. Whatever your soulmate is, people who believe in soulmates, or whatever the right person is, once you do the work on yourself, they'll begin to come to you. So you will find yourself that, you know, you're talking about, you're thinking you're going to find your love here in Kenya, and then there's a time you're taking a trip, and then you find the person that you're going to fall in love with in Amsterdam, you know, at the airport. They begin, yes, they begin to come closer to you, or you sit next to them in the, you know, in the plane, or whatever. You're walking through the supermarket, they will begin to come to you. So understanding all of these things, especially when it comes to relationships, is that you don't attract anybody outside of who you are. So if you're going through a toxic situation, you're the toxic one. Okay. So you need to work on that.
So what do you avoid when you are in a self-mastery journey? What are all these things that utaipuka nazo? You know, because there seems to be a lot of dangers that you encounter when you are not in line or in tandem with yourself and you have this infighting. But now when you're on that journey, definitely is the opposite. You know, you're escaping things which otherwise would have affected you.
Yes.
So what's that? How does that look like?
So the first thing that first of all you need to have when you're going on this journey is to have discipline, have self-discipline, have self-control. Most people are not even in control of their own kind of urges. It's a problem if you can't control your urges. It's very, very, very big problem because then you're not in control. That's why when you master yourself, number one, some of the things that you need to have is to have discipline, is to have self-control. Because there are people who will talk about, oh, you know, I just can't stay away from, you know, sex, I can't stay away from men, I can't stay away from women. That's a problem. Because if you can't control that, for crying out loud, what else can you control? And that usually is the biggest. In fact, if you can control your carnal urges, you can get to a place where you can turn down sex, not because you can't have it, but because you just don't want to. You have gone to another level. That's why when you look at monks, like, they can stay with that thing for the longest time and they're still okay. And the people who are like, 2 weeks, I can't stay without it for 2 weeks. I can't stay without it for a week. So that's a problem. That's someone who hasn't mastered themselves. So you need to have discipline. You need to have consistency. There's nothing that anything, we talk about content creation, be consistent. You want to make money, be consistent. You want to do anything, be consistent. When it comes to something comes to mastering yourself, you have to be very consistent. Then you're going to escape some of these things. In fact, people were talking about trauma. I don't know, I've gone through this and the other. You can't relate. You won't be able to relate because you have come to a place where you think you will avoid things. You know, they've said this before that it's perhaps they've made reference to it when it comes to black people, that if you want to hide something from an African, you put it in a book. So most people don't pick up a book to read. But for the people who have read a little bit of quantum physics, metaphysics, you read everything outside motivation, outside of the 10 things that you need to do to become successful. You begin to realize that there's something called the universe. There's something called, people call it the universe, people call it God, which is energy. There's a quantum field. Right now, where we're seated here, there's a quantum field. You can't see it, you can't hear it, but it's operating and it listens and it gives you what you want. That is why the alchemist said that whatever it is you desire, the universe will conspire to bring it to your reality. So everything that you desire and then you follow with action and emotion, it's brought to you. So you can always, and I'll tell you this, most people operate from a place of lack and limitation. People operate from a place of anxiety, fear, and worry and doubt. And so most people are creating in those emotions. If you're looking for a relationship and you are, I'm like, oh my goodness, I need to find love because I'm getting older and, you know, my eggs and this and that and the other. So I need to find someone who we can fall in love with and get married. That's a recipe for disaster. That is a recipe for disaster because the intention behind the creation, there has to be intention behind your creation. The intention behind the creation is fear. So I'm only going to attract more fear. People are looking for money from a place of lack and limitation. People are looking for money from a place of fear. So what do? You attract much of that into your life. So you encounter difficulty in the place of making money. You'll have to do hard things. You have to do things you don't like. You have to do things you don't hate because the thing that is pushing that is fear. And getting to a place of abundance. Most people do not understand that abundance is your birthright. If you come from the Creator is abundant in love, abundant. And money, for instance, and relationships are not things. They're energies. So when you create from those places, when you come to master yourself, if I want to create money, I create money from a place of I have abundant love. I have abundant love. I've got abundant value. I've got abundant, you know, joy and gratitude. In fact, the two most powerful things that people need to have in life is gratitude and love. When Christ left, he said the biggest commandment is that of love. Love God, love your neighbor, love yourself. So when you create from a place of love and you create from a place of gratitude, that's why even Christ was very pissed at the people he healed and only one person came to say thank you. Gratitude. People don't wake up in the morning and be grateful for what they have. They become grateful for what they do not have. So people are creating from a place of what they don't have. Unfortunately, what follows is the more of what you do not have because where focus goes, energy flows. So when people are manifesting, for instance, people want to create love into their lives. And the thing that you're consuming about is content about why women are scams or why men are scam. You're confusing creation. Because what you're saying is, I want love. And then what you're focusing on is why love is such a bad thing. why love is a scam.
It's unattainable.
It's unattainable. Why marriages are bad, why marriages are horrible, and this and that and the other. What happens? You keep on meeting people who don't meet the threshold. So that is why working on yourself and mastering the self is not just about a to-do list. I cannot tell anybody who they are. That is a journey that anybody can find and go on for themselves. In fact, in the dating sphere, in the relationship spheres, there are things to look out for. This is what a good woman looks like. This is what a good man looks like. Like the laws of nature, obviously, they're things that are universal. But on an individual life, because life is lived individually, only the person can tell who the best for them is. And that's why people get frustrated. And that is why people are in the habit of asking questions. People have answers, but they keep on asking questions. This person is doing this to me. What do you think I should do? Giving away power, because people are not decisive. You need to sit with yourself and have something called critical thinking, proactive thinking. Sit with the situation with yourself. You sit with the situation long enough, the answer will come. You don't even have to ask anyone. And this is a problem that I have, by the way, when it comes with women, women. Women ask about anything and everything, as if they do not know. You know, oh, this person is cheating on me, my boyfriend is cheating, he has so many other girlfriends, what do you think I should do? What? Even that you want to be told? You want someone to tell you what to do when your boyfriend is cheating and you want them to come back to you? And the reason why that is happening to you, when you master yourself, you understand why it is happening to you. Why is this person consistently doing this to me? And perhaps the truth is what you don't want to hear, is that that is not the person for you. But when people don't work on themselves, so they begin to do things, performance. So you think, oh, if I take aloe vera, if I begin to cook soft chapatis, if I begin to, I don't know, somersault in bed, that is what will make them calm. If I give them, I don't know, this thing called peace, that is what will make them come around. Sometimes the truth is what it is. They are not for you. This thing that you're in right now, that's not for you. But because also people want to fight for things instead of sitting. And then there's something very important. It's called letting go. Learning how to let go. And that is why even the scripture is very big on surrender. You surrender, you give your baggage. Christ said, my yoke is light. And I keep on going back to scripture because it's very apt when it comes to certain wisdom. Learning how to let go. People don't know how to let go, when to let go, why they should let go. So people keep on performing and fighting and holding on to things. The law of detachment, very important. And all of these things are in mastering yourself, accepting the what is. Don't fight it, don't resist. And we resist. We resist on things, and that's why we grow frustrated. When you're acting from frustration, you keep on attracting more frustration, because we said where focus goes, energy flows. The universe supports you even in your nonsense. Even in your nonsense. So if you're frustrated, the universe is like, this person is more frustrated. So what do? Give them more frustration. That's it. So you encounter all of these negative things in your life and you're like, I don't know what's happening to me. I was dealt a bad hand. This is what God wants me to do. You're playing victim.
Okay. Now let's take a look at what self-mastery looks like in children. When you want to train up your children to be more confident, you know, to start understanding what they like and maybe what they don't like in terms of, you know, what they're talented in. If they want to do sports, tomorrow they change, you know, it's football from basketball, and you get so mad because you're paying so much money, you know, and everything around. So how do you nurture that in children?
In fact, when it comes to, because I think most of us are in pursuit of purpose, and purpose is not pursued. Purpose is explored. You can never be one thing. You will never be one thing. I'm a public speaker now. 10 years from today, I might decide to be a DJ. I'll still be in my purpose as a DJ, and then 10 years from then I'll decide to have open a daycare or have a, you know, a retirement home for the elderly.
But why does our society make it look like it's, you know, you're losing focus when you have such a wide focus? Right. You want to do this, you want to do that. I mean, I've heard it so many times. You cannot be this and be that. You know, choose Remy. Choose what line you're supposed to go to. So why is that so prevalent in society?
In fact, to answer that, let me arc back to when you talked about children. That is why when children are growing up, it's a good thing to now support it. So today they want to do ballet, and then they come the next time, they're like, actually, I want to play soccer. And then you play for soccer, then they come, they're like, I want to play an instrument. You support it. As a parent, you're supposed to support it, because now, and that is why, by the way, for me, I usually say raising kids is not as cheap as people thought. Because when we were growing up, we came from, you know, limitations. So we had to do with what we had, whatever was made available. But now you can support it so that the child at some point will finally land in the thing that they really love, especially when you push them, so that they just don't end up doing something for the sake of doing it. So you have to let them explore. Now, when it comes back to someone who's grown and you're like, focus on one thing, we come from a limited society. So people will say, do what you have to get what you want. So if you're now, and perhaps your purpose is in what? Photography. You do this that you're doing right now, be a presenter, make the money, make a lot of money, then leave this and go pursue now photography, go do it. I think that also works, especially because you have to use what you have to get what you want, right? So you say that is why working on yourself, there's no answer out here. Only you can find it, because your circumstances are different from mine. I am able to take risks because I have financial capacity and financial power to allow me to jump from one thing to the other. For the person who doesn't have it, they'll have to stick with one thing, start with selling charcoal and move their way up. And that is why there's no, that's why people say there's no manual to life. And that's why you master yourself and you find the answer for you, what it is that you can do. And then something else I just want to add quickly is when it comes to value. And you know, this question that people ask, what do you bring to the table? I want us to take emotion out of it. Take the emotion that I'm the table and the table is me and I come with the table and I build my own table. What someone is asking is, what's your value? And women sell their value in terms of relationships. Like, what is your value? Oh, I can cook, I can clean, or I'll have babies, or we will do labor. We're not talking about that. Remy, what is your value, you and I? What are you bringing to the table? For me, I'm in no intention, I'm very straight. So I have no intention of ever wanting to lay with you. I have no intention of you coming to my house and perform and cook the nice food and give me kids. So what is your value? What do I stand to gain by being in a relationship with you? Friendship, business, what do you bring? That's a value conversation that most people cannot have. So when someone asks you, what do you bring to the table? Remove emotion out of it and understand that now you're being asked value. What's your value? And value, by the way, is inherent. It's not performance. I'm kind. I can communicate well. So do you think it's a sensitive thing that people have to speak about? That is why it looks simple but very difficult? It's very difficult because, like I said, people communicate the value in terms of relationships. Life is more than relationships. So when someone asks you, what do you bring to the table? Me, we are women. What do you bring to the table? Most women cannot answer that. Because now I stand to gain nothing in terms of your body, in terms of So what is your value? It's a very difficult conversation that both men and women do not have. I'm not talking about your money. That's not your value. It's a deep conversation. Value is inherent. It's something that you came with, and it's something that will take you until the day your body is interred. That's your value. Society will still find you valuable even when you're 70. When you don't have a husband and perhaps all your kids are dead, you're still valuable. So what is your value? What do you bring to the table? That's the conversation that most people cannot even have. They don't understand their value. And as you're winding up, I want to highlight something very key here. You'll find most young people saying, I did this degree and I gave it to my parents because it was theirs. That's not what I wanted to do. So we have many parents, stating exactly why they have their children do what they do. Others are living vicariously through them because they were not able to, and you know the rest of it. So just paint us that dynamic, and basically how are we supposed to interpret that in terms of academia? In academia and purpose and this conversation. So obviously purpose is, and academia, it's a journey. So that is why I think even parents nowadays are a bit lenient and they're like free spirits. Like you just, what is it that you want to do, honey? You want to be a doctor? You want to do photography? All right, we're going to support it. And like we started saying in the beginning, it's all about being honest with yourself. Truth is very important. So when you can get to a place where you understand where you're coming from, your environment, who you are, then that allows you to make the decisions that you're going to make even when it comes to academia. So everything goes back to the self. understand what life has dealt you with, your cards, where you are in life.
Yeah.
You also have to understand where you are in life. That is why you can't give blanket advice. You can't tell me, for instance, I will go back even to a relationship. What I want and what you want are very different, because we're at different levels in our life. We're at different stages of life. So we will want different things. So I can't say that, you know, someone can't sit here and say, Remmy and Nangami, they are women, so this is what they want in men. No. I'm at a stage perhaps in my life where I don't care about someone's money because I've got my own. I care about values. And you could be in a stage in your life where you want some financial support. So what you want in a man is someone who has money. And so it's everything that happens even in academia. Where are you in life? Where are you financially? And then move from that. Be honest with yourself.
All right. Nangami, unfortunately, we've come to the end of this conversation, but thank you so much for giving us that broad perspective on what self-mastery is. As we know, it's just, you know, not the simple talk of motivation. This is who you're supposed to be. This is how you're supposed to act. Society has evolved, and human beings want more authentic connections and conversations for that matter. So thank you so much for coming here and doing exactly that.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Right, so thank you so much for watching Morning Vibe. My name is Remmy Majala, and like I mentioned, we were speaking about self-mastery, the dynamics around it, and what you basically need to understand. Thank you so much for being with us this morning. We'll see you again tomorrow. Enjoy your day.
Mr. DJ, Mr. DJ.
Lucky.
When it comes to playing the best music videos, we've got you covered.
K24 TV Mix Master.
When it comes to a lineup of all the fresh DJs, we've got that too.
Yeah!
Check this out. Caribbean.
Controversy starts from the t-shirt reader.
Afrobeat. Our famous and infamous Kenyan jazz.
By the way, let me tell you mine.
And all the hits from across the globe.